What's up guys, the Strong Boys 19 here. Welcome back for me to do the next album in the discography of Fear Factory. Today I'm going to be reviewing the band's fourth studio album entitled Digimortal. Digimortal was released on the 24th of April 2001, making this the final album with the involvement of the record label to which the band was signed to at the time, Roadrunner Records, and it's also the final album to listen to this band with the classic lineup in Fear Factory's history, with Burton, Dino, Christian and Raymond. The band, as well as Rhys Fulber, did the production for this album. Digimortal is another concept, but it is a different one. From the previous two albums of 1995's Demanufacture and 1998's previous album, Obsolete, those two concept albums were focused intensely around the story of the main protagonist and as well as with the antagonists, with involved increased political lyrics to violence and the war between man and machine. Digimortal, on the other hand, is something incredibly interesting and, to me, the most original concept. Burton C. Bell's concept this time around for this album is on the humanity that's on the edge of survival and the machines to merge into one. In my opinion, I find the concept of Digimortal to be incredibly fascinating. The title of the album, Digimortal, is a combination of two separate words, digital and mortality. I also would like to send a link in the description below on a Reddit post that someone decided to share of Burton's most full, complete analysis of what Digimortal is about. It's a lot of reading, but if you want to take some of that time for yourselves, go and check it out. It is an absolutely awesome and interesting discovery. The instrumentation around this album is focusing around the simplistic approach of songwriting, less of the complexity, the advanced skill and the technicality. Notice things into this trend of new metal, because new metal had become increasingly popular with bands involving Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, Linkin Park, etc. And the style of some of the songs on this album can be sounding like new metal territory, but they still continue to write their original music with their signature sound. This album is 43 minutes in length, and I will have to say, this album used to be my favourite Fear Factory album, and it was so nostalgic for me. As much as that I love a lot of what they've done through the band's career, and to call other albums as classics, some later stuff that I find really good, I think Digimortal still is a very reflective album. So this album holds a very special place in my heart. The album opens with What Will Become. The track begins in this direction to hear this bouncy riff at the start, and then it quickly changes into this insanity of double bass pedaling speed with a lot of groove, and the chorus returns back to the intro riff, but it does get addictive. The vocals come in a style of following the rhythm. The songwriting as well through this track, as well as some of the later stuff, for me personally can be memorable. It's simplistic, but at the same time it is effective. It's obviously different to what you would listen to as a Fear Factory opening track, like Shock and Demanufacture, Slave Labour, but I think What Will Become is a brilliant opening song. By the way, I'm also going to read out Burton's notes on each of these tracks. This song does nothing more than present a question. What will happen to humanity when the door is unlocked to immortality? Will the nature order of destiny fail? We propose these questions for intellectual thought. Damaged. This music started things as crazy as it gets, with the speed, once again, as well as to build adrenaline. The moment that shines the most on this track was Raymond Herrera's drumming. It is creative and it builds the chemistry successfully through this musicianship that is fantastic. It's one of the catchier tracks on this album, and Dino's riffs continue the hook. Burton's performance was brilliant as well. Certain individuals maintain the idea that the human body is a perfect machine, finalized, without need for enhancement. That cybernetic installments are damaging to our biosystems and is a violation of nature. However, the price for immortality is determined by the weight of existence. How much is everlasting life worth to you? The title track Digimortal is one of my most favourites on this album because of powerful melodic cleans and the intensity. The delivery of the music continues the heavy tone as well as to return Burton's melancholic feel that sounds striking. Dino's playing is brilliant on this song through these change of pace moments in the instrumentation, and I do adore the emotion that was perfectly performed. It is a highlight and to me a classic song. This song was inspired by a nature program where a known predator was feeding on its own young only to survive. This was an example of the true essence of survival and instinct through sheer innocence. Humanity has taken out the equation of death through evolution, erased the instinct of survival of the fittest. Where is the innocence of humanity? Will we be our own downfall? No one. No one is another high favourite that I love just as much. The synthesizer at the start of the track is like a wailing siren sound from the tension along with the band that created their beginning of the heaviness. And with the verse sections, Burton's flow is like somewhat similar to what he did on Damaged, but it fits in the chemistry. He distorts his vocals consistently this time on this song. The synthesizers become even more pronounced as well, which added the bigger tone along with the studio effects on the bridge section. The variation of Dino's riffs add more of this track's strength, especially in the bridge section. In the future, humanity cannot deny the instinctual burden of fear. Emotion is something that cannot be abandoned, even when immortality is so accessible. No one can escape basic human emotion. The most popular track and one of the best Fear Factory tracks ever is next, Linchpin, the single for this album. The opening beat is pretty danceable. Christian makes his own appearance by hearing the bass that sounds crunchy. The melody is phenomenal. It's one of Burton's greatest vocals he ever did. Its hook is so strong. Syncopation through fast double bass pedaling speeds, wonderful vocal clean tones. This is a masterpiece of a song and it's one of their greatest tracks. This song depicts the symbiotic relationship of man and machine. A linchpin is a simple element that holds together the concept of a complex machine. The union of man and machine is something that cannot be taken apart. Take either out of the program and both will cease to exist. Then the album makes the transition into the balladry soft piece of Invisible Wounds and in brackets Dark Bodies. It's a mellowed out exploration of feeling, in my opinion, than to focus on heaviness. The production is excellent, as well as with the arrangement of the structure. The haunting guitar that remained a lot in this song delivered a gentle sound, and the drums sometimes sound pretty different as well when Burton sings. The harmony is very nice as well. The breakdown section was the only big sludgy part of the song. I think this song is very underappreciated and one of those that deserves a lot of credit. This is what we imagine the memory of a clone to be. Nurtured in complete darkness for what seemed a lifetime, would dreams seem to be reality? On the line of consciousness and unconsciousness, would a clone know they are even alive? From an outsider's point of view, they are nothing but dark bodies floating in darkness. Acres of Skin. This sound at the start is completely aggressive. Chugging picking technique, changeable beats through Dino's playing to Christian's playing and Raymond's drumming. It's one of the heavier tracks on this album, and I really liked that idea that Burton does for most of the time in the song, to hear him go through sustaining long note vocals, especially on the chorus, as well as with the balance of how the instrumentation progressed. The title lifted from a non-fiction book of the same name. The book was about a prison in the United States that allowed the government and pharmaceutical companies to test on the inmates, humans destroying humans. This is a song depicting a morbid future where clones are nurtured inside a suspended state of consciousness, like a farmland waiting to be cultivated. Where are the inalienable rights of humanity when a human clone has no voice or ability to defend themselves with? Back the fuck up. Now, this track was made from an idea that Christian had, and both Christian and Dino appeared on a previous album by Cypress Hill, Skull and Bones. So I think that happened to put this song to be an involved one for the concept in a hip-hop style combination with the band's sound. This features Be Real from Cypress Hill. His contribution was decent enough, but to me, it is the weakest track on the album. Not that I found it terrible, but it is cheesy and it doesn't stand out as much. The instrumentation is decent. I don't mind listening to this track, but at the same time, it just doesn't show itself as a unique one because of what the rest of the album stands for. A song about the less fortunate, those who cannot afford the price of immortality, those who are being shut out and condemned, purists of a future where bioenhancement is a natural course of life. They stand up for human rights with a vengeance, hoping the future generations will open their eyes to the danger of augmentation. I totally respect what Christian wanted to do, but I think Dino wasn't really keen on this song at all. So yeah, Back the Fuck Up is my least favourite song on the album, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind listening to it when I wanted to listen to the rest of this album. Bite Block. This is one of the longer tracks on the album, if not the longest in terms of hearing the whole band. Opens with the ambience, some soundscapes, and weirdly it made me think about some soundscapes from Obsolete. The build-up was strong with Raymond and Christian to grow the music. The band were on full swing here. The synthesizers do create more of the atmosphere heavily as it goes ahead, and the band sounded absolutely punishing with some of their bigger grooves around the whole thing. This is a song about a mental condition that affects the cloned client of the future. Bouts of darkness permeate their memory, traces of another being inside their head. At certain times, the clone's own memory struggles with the memory of the client, and reality is nothing more than a confused state of consciousness. This condition is known as bite block. The penultimate song, Hurt Conveyor, is a pulverizing song. I do love this song so much that it is one of the most underrated Fear Factory tracks. I actually first heard some of the riffs from this track from a game called Demolition Racer on a track called Machine Debaser. So this one is very nostalgic for me. When I first heard this track, I heard those riffs from Machine Debaser and I thought, holy shit, that's that song from Demolition Racer. I just love how frantic it sounded through the whole variety of Dino's guitar work and with Raymond's Teutonic creativity. In mechanical terms, a conveyor is a machine that brings to or takes away. It could be an object, an element or emotion to or from ground zero. In this case, the conveyor is a more abstract interpretation, something less tangible. Ask yourself, what is it that hurts you, brings you pain rather than pleasure? What is it that takes you from reality, helps you escape from your fears? This could be the deity of a new day, of another time, one that seems to resemble a deity of our time. Then the album closes with one of my other most favourite Fear Factory songs of all time, Memory Imprints, in brackets, Never End. Again, this is so nostalgic because I have heard the demo called Never End that appeared on Demolition Racer from the PlayStation 1. Absolutely phenomenal and haunting around its moody nature. It's the longest track on the album, but after the main part of hearing the whole band, the ambient texture and synthesizer remained consistently to slowly fade out. The album version is fuller and complete. The harmonic guitar notes at the start are stellar, and Christian's bass delivers the song just as completely in the verse sections, and the chorus is just as magical. It has a massive yet impending feel to it because it sounds like it's full of despair. It's just goosebumps feeling. One of the best Fear Factory closing tracks ever, in my opinion. All of us are prone to imprinting of our own personality. We go to school and are taught the same procedures for life. We go through our days and are exposed to the same programming from large corporations. We go to our religious sanctuaries and are enlightened to the same stories of ancient history, and we accept them as true. What we have here is someone who realizes that the world around him is full of deceit, full of contradictions. This person, however, has enlightened themselves to the real world, a world that is full of natural grace, yet at the same time a cruel world of survival. This is their mantra, their prayer, and when they look up at the night sky and see a million points of light, they dream that the enlightenment is meant especially for them. Overall, Digimortal by Fear Factory is, to me, another stunning and creative masterpiece. Despite what I said about Back the Fuck Up, I cannot help but to still personally love the entirety of the album. Unfortunately, when this album came out, the reviews were heavily mixed, and the album did not sell very successfully, not as positively through the eyes and ears from fans and critics. What I will have to say about that is, it is such a shame that it didn't, live up to the hype, because it was one of the most anticipated albums after the growing success of Obsolete's era. But I do adore a lot of Digimortal for what it is. Both Rhys Fulber and John Bechdel did amazing work for their contribution work of the keyboards and synthesizers. And surprisingly, future Yes member Billy Sherwood did a brief amount of contribution as well. That's personally all I would like to say about Digimortal by Fear Factory. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Do you love this album? Do you like it? Is this one of your favourite Fear Factory albums? I'm going to give Digimortal by Fear Factory, again, a 10 out of 10 album because of how many times I've loved this album from back in the day to today. So for personal attachment reasons mainly, I do think this is as a fantastic album that successfully makes me feel satisfied to listen to the classic lineup of Fear Factory go out on a high with this album. Thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.